Success in football is typically defined by wins and losses, yards and touchdowns, but Shaq Harris's contribution to the sport is anything but typical. He was able to change the perception of black athletes and influence an entire generation of NFL quarterbacks.
James Harris is a pioneer in a lot of ways.
He's probably the greatest project that Coach Eddie Robinson had.
In the 1960s, Grambling was already known as a football factory, a breeding ground for top-level NFL talent. But there were still questions as to whether Robinson could produce the first successful black professional quarterback.
Somebody said that the passing game was too sophisticated for us to teach. Well, couldn't any of the guys play for us could play quarterback in the NFL?
Actually, when he was recruiting me, he had been to New York and talked with Howard Cosell on a radio show.
And the first thing he popped the mic out, he says, Eddie, well, you've been in coaching for a great number of years. Do you think you could teach a young black quarterback so that he would be able to lead an NFL team? So now here I am right here, and I had to ask him not to do that. And so I said, oh yeah, that can be done within a couple of years.
But Coach Robinson knew that in order for Harris to be given a legitimate shot, he needed to be more than just a great player.
I told him, I said, James, you got to come to Grant. We want to recruit you to play in the NFL. If you get a diploma, or you get that certificate, it represents that you are intelligent.
And after a spectacular career at Grambling, Harris was ready for pro ball, but the NFL wasn't so sure.
It really was more frustrating, for me on draft day, because it had been advertised that I would get drafted higher because of, my size and the production I'd had.
Harris was eventually selected by Buffalo in the 8th round, but was unsure if he'd ever get a legitimate opportunity.
It wasn't so much I had something to prove as much as realizing you had no chance of playing. Coach Robinson called me over and we talked, and he told me that he understood exactly how I felt. But if I got the opportunity to play, the decision was mine, and if guys like me didn't go up in the NFL, it was going to be that much longer before a black could play quarterback.
And it turned out to be a good decision. Harris became the first black quarterback to start a season, and he did it as a rookie.
I was finally announced the starter. I just felt more for the players who had come before me who never had the opportunity to play.
Harris went on to play 13 years in the NFL, becoming the first black quarterback to lead a team to a conference championship game.
I'm going to Disney World! I'm going to Disneyland! And when Doug won the Super Bowl, you felt that realistically young kids growing up could dream, just like all other Americans, that they could play quarterback in the NFL.
For his accomplishments on the field and his impact on the game, Shaq Harris comes in at number 11 on KNOE's list of all-time greats.
What he went through and the things that he had to overcome to reach what he achieved is a part of his legacy.
More than 40 years ago, Joe Proft had the ultimate test of courage.
I was scared to death.
Proft was trying to do something never done before in the state of Louisiana.
There had not been one African American to play football in a traditional white college in the Southeast.
But in the face of adversity, Proft had an unwavering faith in himself.
No matter how much talent you have, you gotta have the spirit of God within you, and then you can do anything.
That faith and belief was instilled in him by his legendary Richwood coach, Mackie Freeze.
He was preparing us for something great, and it was difficult in those days. But even in all the midst of all of the turmoil and segregation, Coach taught us, do the best you can do, don't worry about the other stuff, keep your eye on the prize.
In high school, Proft was a part of the legendary Richwood dynasty that went 3 seasons without losing a game, winning 4 state titles.
My dad always told me, I know you can play football, but get your lessons, son. Show me that you can think.
And Proft decided to think outside the box, taking a different path than the rest of his teammates.
My entire team, as I stated earlier, was state champions. We hadn't lost a game in 3 years, and most of which those guys went to Grambling, some went to Southern, and I went to Northeast.
And he went there as a walk-on, eventually earning a scholarship.
Every day, the one thing I always remember, pride, professional results, and daily efforts. That's how I live, that's how I practice. My high school football coach, Mackie Freeze, would always say, kill a net with a sledgehammer. And to that, he means do it well.
The advice, well, it seemed to resonate with Proft, leaving ULM as the career leader in rushing yards and touchdowns while earning All-American honors his junior and senior seasons. His storybook college career led to the Atlanta Falcons drafting him in the first round of the 1971 draft.
I never would have dreamt that I would have gone on to become a #1 draft choice in the National Football League.
Using his explosive speed, Proft led the NFL in rushing to start the 1972 season before a knee injury ended his year. He was never the same back. He went on to play 3.5 seasons in the NFL and 2 in the World Football League. For his accomplishments, our panel voted Proft at number 9 on KNOE's list of all-time greats.
It's an honor. It's an honor that I don't take lightly. And I've said I've known a lot of good football players that deserve to be on that list. And to be on it, it's a blessing.
Dallas Cowboys linebacker Brady James is known for his big hits.
Head high, Brady James knocked him down at about the 4.
But in a span of 3 months, James was blindsided by news that no one could ever be prepared for. Both his mother and father had passed away, and it's their spirit that has carried him ever since.
I think both of them are very proud. You know, I try to do, to this day, I do things to pretty much please them. And hopefully, I'm just really living my purpose. You know, people talk about giving back. We all give back in some way, but once you find some part of your purpose here on life, I think I found a little bit of that, and that's what I'm able to do.
Blessed with his athletic prowess from birth, Brady's parents knew their son had more to give the world than just football.
I wanted to use athletics as an avenue to springboard me.
And he did that, raising his platform first at Wassman High School and then on a stacked West Monroe team. The 1998 Rebels won the state championship and took home the national title as well. James was being recruited as one of the top linebackers in the entire country.
And I could have put that team against NLU at the time. So of course we could have beaten any high school team. Everybody knew. We ran through a lot of people, and some people still talking about the raft that I put on a couple people. So,
staying close to home, James started at LSU, becoming captain and eventually an All-American.
In your career, what is the one thing that so far you're the most proud of?
I would have to say graduating from college because, you know, God has blessed us and blessed me with so much talent to where I can come out here and I can play ball. That's what I love to do. But to sit down and show dedication in the classroom, that was something that I had to train myself to do.
We've been here before. Let's capitalize on it. Let's win.
Now a defensive captain for the Dallas Cowboys, James has established himself as one of the game's rising stars. But with all of his fame and success, his ultimate focus has never changed.
So here I am. I've been a pretty good football player, athlete all my life, but one thing that I've always been is a good person, and that's what my parents instilled in me, those values. Yeah, 2 teams gonna be going this way.
James comes back to West Monroe every year to host his football camp and pays tribute to his mother through Foundation 56.
My mother lost her battle with breast cancer in 2002, and so my big goal is to go out to underserved communities and to help in the fight.
For a standout career in high school, college, and the pros, James impressed our panel.
I need to be top 15 at least.
Brady James, you are number 8 on KNOE's list of all-time greats. For the Channel of Champions, I'm Nima Yazdani.
Quarterbacks are worthless without a core of receivers with a knack for the end zone. Pro Bowler Billy Joe Dupree caught more passes than any tight end.
For Dallas Cowboys legend Billy Joe Dupree, a simple wager would change the course of his entire life.
I was a basketball player until I had to meet a challenge from another individual that put me on the football field. They ended up in a tackling drill, the first tackling drill, ended up losing sight, pinching a nerve and losing sight in my right eye. After that, I figured somebody had to pay for that, so I decided to stay and play.
His Richardson teams went on to win 2 state titles, and while many in the area were being sought out by colleges, Dupree was largely overlooked.
They didn't come recruit Billy Joe Dupree, they came and recruit Lee Fox. Coach had told a guy with name was Ben Carolot. Probably needed one to go visit this kid over in West Monroe, the Dupree kid.
And they did, soon offering him a scholarship. Dupree went on to an All-American career with the Spartans and was set for a life outside of football.
Didn't plan on doing anything past college. I was preparing myself for the construction industry.
It wasn't until a surprise call that Dupree decided on a career change.
First thing out of his mouth, Billy Joe, aren't you excited? We drafted you in the first round today. My response to him, I said, who are you really? Gil Brandt with the Dallas Cowboys.
After some convincing on the phone, Dupree was ready to sign.
He said, is there something you'd like to know about the team? I said, yes, sir. I said, who's the coach down there? And they had the silence on the other end of the line, seemed to last about 2 or 3 minutes, but it couldn't have been no more than maybe 2 or 3 seconds. They said, our coach is Tom Landry, and we just won the Super Bowl last year.
As a Cowboy, Dupree revolutionized the tight end position by becoming a pass-catching machine. He still holds an NFL record for most postseason receptions by a tight end.
He's played in 63 consecutive games out of Michigan State.
And went his entire 11-year career without missing a game. In his Cowboy career, he played for the right to go to the Super Bowl 7 times with 3 Super Bowl appearances and 1 Super Bowl victory.
But in the complex scheme of the Cowboy offense, his special talents made him a big play receiver.
For his stellar career and his contribution to the game, Billy Joe Dupree is voted as KNOE's all-time great number 7. For the Channel of Champions, I'm Nima Yazdani.
My focus is just on one thing. I don't see nothing else but the football.
White became the target of every hit man in the league.
If I get hit, knocked out, then so be it.
Sammy White was not always fearless. He recalls a time when Richwood practices had him shaking in his cleats.
Me, myself, I was hiding out in the attic. And my mom hollered out there and said, everybody on the bus, Mr. All-American, you the one who wanted to play football, so get back out there.
With LSU and Michigan trying to lure the talented playmaker out of Northeast Louisiana, Grambling's Eddie Robinson called in reinforcements.
They making sure I was still on board, and he brought Ernie Ladd down there. And man, when I saw him, I almost took off running because that cat is big.
It did not take long for the 5'11", 180-pounder to work his way up the Grambling depth chart.
Coach Robinson put me in the game. I caught the winning touchdown, and I've been starting ever since.
As an All-American his junior and senior seasons at Grambling, the SWAC Player of the Year was ready to prove that he had the skills to play at the next level.
To be a receiver, first thing you got to be able to catch the ball. Saying, I can catch a ball with my eyes closed.
Minnesota would put the second-round draft pick's confidence to the test.
White's youthful exuberance led to some mistakes, like doing a one-handed celebration 5 yards before the goal line.
Thankfully, White learned from his mistakes quickly. On his way to the NFL Rookie of the Year award in 1976, he hauled in 51 receptions, 10 of them for touchdowns.
The rookie played out his storybook role to perfection.
Did all that, I felt there was no reason to play anymore, but the money wasn't that good, so that sure wasn't the reason.
White continued to cash those checks as the 3-time All-Pro selection developed into one of the game's most exciting players.
White continued to confound defensive backs as he averaged 17 yards per catch.
Sometimes you have to pinch yourself and ask, is this really real? Because, this little old me from Monroe and from Richwood, and I'm out here with the big boy,
Sammy White rarely gets the accolades he deserves.
Sammy certainly gets his due from our panel of coaches and sports writers. 393 receptions and 50 career NFL touchdowns put this dynamic receiver in rare company. The 10-year NFL veteran also left his mark at Grambling and Richwood. As a result, White has been voted as the 6th best player of all time.
Me, myself, I always believe I'm the number one person in this era. But, the biggest thing for me, I always look at the high school stuff now, and everybody's an Aaron Ace. And I guess this would be my chance, to be an Aaron Ace.
In the 1940s, Eddie Robinson had already established himself as a coach that could win, but his overall vision went further.
Somebody got to play in the NFL.
And that was the goal when Paul Tank Younger started at Grambling his freshman season.
Younger had played line, and he had played defensive back, he had played offensive tackle, and then he had played tailback.
In his first year, the versatile Younger played offense and defense, leading the country with 25 touchdowns.
He was above and beyond everybody, the man among the boys. Lines really applied. There was no way you could tackle him.
For his Grambling career, Younger scored 60 total touchdowns and was named Black College Football Player of the Year in his senior season. But with all the accolades, he still went undrafted, eventually signing as a free agent with the Rams.
He was the best conditioned athlete that walked out on the field for the Rams because we'd practice sprinting, catching, and doing everything that he would need.
With the Rams, he earned Pro Bowl honors 5 times, becoming the first black running back to make an All-Star game. But with all of his success, he always made sure he came back to his roots.
He came home every year to work with us at Grambling to give us some insight on what it meant and how to get to the NFL and the kind of work ethics and the things we had to do to get there.
When Younger went into the NFL and made it, it just put a great focus on Grambling, and they started coming in.
For his impact at Grambling and his outstanding career in the pros, our panel has Tank Younger as KNOE all-time great number 5. For the Channel of Champions, I'm Nima Yazdani.